Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Mack Trailer America's Pole, presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse with Marshall Putnam Fairgrounds here in Henry, Illinois. It is time to go truck and tractor pulling with the Pro Pulling League. I'm Ken Stout, Leslie Mears sitting right alongside, and we've got a packed house here, ready for some exciting action.
And we're going to kick things off here with the Super Stock Diesel Trucks presented by ARP, and we've got quite a class here coming to you. To kick things off here, it'll be John Manns, the truck he calls Crazy X.
Love the old school sheet metal there. Beautiful looking forward. That thing finally went full song. Puts 282 and 68 on the board.
And it was a hard working pull, as you could see how much dirt he's actually slung up against the buckboard of that sled and the divots he put at the top end of the track as well. We'll take another look at it here, and you can see that black smoke is going to be an indication of the throttle here in the Super Stock Diesel Truck class. So for them, if you see that smoke start to waver, that's when they're in and out of the throttle. When it cleans up and goes solid black, that is when they are at full song out there. So keep your eyes glued to that smoke, and that's going to give you an idea how they're driving those trucks.
There's a beautiful overhead shot of the dual tractor we're competing on here tonight. And the Super Stock Diesel Truck running order, courtesy of General Tire, shows Brady Ingram up at the top. You'll notice that John Manns has now dropped down to the 9-hole, and that is because they did reset the sled. So John Manns will have another shot at it. He'll wait as long as possible to cool that thing back down. So up next will be the Crosswire truck out of Farina, Illinois. That is Brady Ingram behind the wheel. Some tough players in this category. He's one of them. And he burns that thing in right down at the very end of that hook and puts a distance up on the board good enough to take over the lead here, 3:02 and 29.
Yeah, so you're seeing about a 20-foot difference here between those two pulls. And so one of the things that they could have done here is they could have walked that box out a little bit farther, so it's a little more advanced and it doesn't come up the rails as fast, and that's going to be the thing that's going to make the difference in our field. You can see just after 4 rounds here on our Mitas leaderboard that we've got Kent Crowder up top, Eric Stacy chomping at the bit behind him, John Manns in third, Van Hazley fourth, and Chase Eller rounding out the top 5.
I mentioned we had some tough players. Here comes one of them now. This is the American Pride, driven by Keith Witt. Keith Witt, 1 year ago, finished up in both third and fourth in the points with the American Pride truck and the Crosswire truck, as he was driving both at the time, and actually finished up on the podium here at Henry a year ago as well in the 3rd position. And he's going to show you why he was up there on the box 1 year ago. How about that number? 321 and 95. We have another new leader by near 20 feet.
And we'd like to say that that's the benefit of having the team truck right in front of him. And this is one of the reasons why Keith Witt has Brady Ingram driving that Crosswire truck for him, so he can kind of concentrate on the American Pride. Unfortunately for these guys today, there's not a lot of time to exchange information. And so I think they got a good read on the track here, good setup, especially after that reset. You can see that it's letting him float a little bit longer out there, get that ground speed up to get to the top end. And I think that's a really strong mark to beat out there. And we're going to see everybody kind of pile up within 5 feet one way or the other of that.
It is crazy. You bring two trucks out here for the team, and they end up back to back. It seems like all the time. Stay with us. We're off and running. We'll be right back with more. The Pro Pulling League is brought to you by Coltrane Energy Drink, Kawasaki Parts Warehouse, and by Mitas Tires. We welcome you back to the Mac Trailer America's Pole, presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. We're in Henry, Illinois. As you can see, the grandstands here are packed. This is always a well-attended event. Nice weather here as well, a dual track, so keeps all the fans happy. We are currently covering the Superstock diesel trucks. Next up is Caretaker, finished up second in the points 1 year ago, earned first place points at 3 different hooks. He's a player. And Chase Eller will put 3:10 and 38 up on the board. That's going to be good enough for third place. And Leslie, I just listening to him go to the throttle, I think he was 3/4 of the way down the track before he ever really laid into it.
You're pretty close on that. He had to work hard. It looks like he gets a little bit closer to that right-hand sideline. It looks like he's trying to point the truck up towards the left, but when he does so, he's got to really work hard to get off the line. It doesn't look like that's the place that he needed to be for that hole shot, so he does the best that he can with it. And that's working that throttle, trying to feel those tires really grip into the track and not give it so much throttle that the tires just spin in the track and throw dirt and he doesn't go anywhere. And that's the real challenge that these trucks have, is that they've really got to work that throttle hard to get the tires into the track. And sometimes that means actually holding it back a little longer than they really want to.
Our next entry is out of Fairmont, Indiana. Rock Hard Ram's the name of the truck. Van Hazley did not chase all the points a year ago, but he's chasing them this year, and he's always tough. Comes in here 4th in the points. Wow, and it sure sounded good. Unfortunately, it looked like it was hopping just a little bit there towards the end. The distance a bit shorter than what he would want at 300.01.
And he was working the throttle off the line too, and you can see he just scooted right back to the center, trying to get a nice clean path. Everybody's staying away from that high side. And we saw some of our lightweight super stocks earlier in the day on that high side and not have a lot of success over there. So there must be a lot of moisture over there. So trying to keep it to the middle and down to the right on this track. And so kind of inching back and forth and trying to find the best place to get that hole shot. The other thing about following the lightweight super stockers is sometimes they can really tear up the starting line. And while our track crew works hard to put it back together, sometimes it doesn't go back the way they want it to.
The reigning champ is up next, and Leslie spoke to him earlier today.
So Kent Crowder put another notch in the championship belt 1 year ago. So what's new and exciting for this year, Kent?
Nothing too new and exciting. We're trying to maintain keeping consistent with what we've been doing. Started out the year really well, so we want to maintain that. We're going to see what we can do here at Henry. Been here a few times, so hopefully we remember the setup for this track.
Which is interesting because a lot of people will tell you, hey, if we're standing still or we're staying consistent, we're kind of moving backwards as technology moves forward. And so this is kind of a different stance than most people take in the world of truck and tractor pulling.
Well, we're constantly tweaking small things at a time, but keeping the big things in check because it's been a good year so far.
What little small things? You going to share your secrets?
No.
And that, fellas, is how you win a championship.
Thanks.
And I got to tell you, of the 9 hooks in the 2023 season, he earned podium points at every single hook except for one, and that was right here at Henry. We'll find out how he does. Oh, yeah, well, whatever that little thing is he's working on, it is absolutely working. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a brand new leader, 330-68 for Kent Crowder in the Scheid Diesel.
And it's always astounding to me just how smooth he is. And you can hear it in the RPMs and you can see it in the smoke. The biggest thing I noticed about that hook is you didn't hear a lot of sputtering and that kind of like up and down with the RPMs. You know, you hear him leave the line and then it's a slow crescendo, that building up of the RPMs, that building up of smoke as he's just ever so gently applying that throttle until just the right time to go full. And that is just amazing. He's really broke the door open. But here's the thing that happens a lot in these truck classes, Ken. Did he just find the road for everybody else, or did he find the one good path on the track? That's the question.
Well, this guy will expose him if he has, that's for sure. He did not chase all the points 1 year ago. Eric Stacy's a solid player in the Smokin' Ya HD out of Winchester, Ohio. Comes in here second in the points, and he's just 10 points behind Kent Crowder, who we just saw.
Lined up on a very, very similar spot right there in the center of the track. Let's see if he takes the same approach.
Obviously some hops there at the end, but he was able to go to the throttle much quicker than everybody else out here tonight. Consequently, he goes a good bit further. Again, we have a brand new leader, 337-39. Eric Stacy takes over first place.
And you can see right away on the starting line that he wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, but I feel like the track held him back, and so he was in and out of it for a little bit, but then right there, that's where he goes full throttle, probably about 150 feet, and then he finishes over here strong on the right-hand sideline, and I think that's the ticket for him. You know, digging up some of that dirt at the top end of the track, getting somewhere that no one has been yet, fresh dirt that's gonna bite hard, and that is the ticket here. So there's where those hops come in at the top end, and he just stays in that throttle, sticks it towards that corner, and takes the lead. Beautiful.
Awesome job, but it tells me there's a little bit left out there, and you never know when somebody's going to find it. Stay with us. We'll find out when we come back. Once again, we're back here at the Mack Trailer America's Pole, presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. We're in Henry, Illinois, covering the Superstock diesel trucks. Got a great battle going on here for sure. The best of the business are throwing it down, and jumping right in the middle of the fray is going to be Dan Whalen and the Cummins Dow. Slowly spooling this one up. Oh, and a mechanical clearly on that one. Right off the bat, had to get out of the throttle there. You could hear the turbo spool back down. What a shame. 236-36, certainly not in the hunt here today, but he was just getting going, to be honest with you. I don't think he was even full throttle yet.
And you could see that he had it pointed at that corner where Eric Stacy had finished, and starts to build up that ground speed. You can see it starts to turn on him, and that's when things go sideways. And you can just see how light the rear end of those trucks are too, because they've got most of their weight out there on that front weight box. They need it out there to drive those tires into the ground. The back light, because the hook point is there and it's going to drive the rear end in. So you can see just how light it is there. Unfortunately, that's not what you want to do. You don't want the sled to bump into you there. And so he's going to have to go back to the drawing board.
Tough go of it, but it is no joke out here on the Champions Tour. You got to bring your A game all the time, and any sort of mechanical is going to cost you. Well, if there's a dark horse in the field, it just might be this guy. And I say that because he finished up 7th in the points. I'm sorry, he comes in here 7th in the points. Last year, he ended up 5th in the points, but did not chase points the entire year. A really solid truck, but his best effort 1 year ago was right here in Henry, Illinois, when he stood on top of the box. We'll see if those notes pay off. Wow, and what a hook. Just the total opposite of Eric Stacy, who had the violent hops at the end of his hook. Now we see what Justin Gerhardt has with the cream of the crop. He has some violent hops at the beginning of the hook, but got it to settle down and then drove through it and gave it all the beans, baby. 348 and 87, another new leader.
And this is just Justin trying to be aggressive out here. The track bites him. Those tires start to spin. He feels it. He has to pull back out of it. I also think this is the product of the new Hazley Machines motor that he's got in this season. Van has a motor just like it. It's kind of an experimental thing that he tested out last season. Gerhardt said, I'm ready for it. Bring it on. At Joliet, picked up a top 5 finish with it. And so I think this is also him figuring it out and being the product of a later hook in the category as well. I think that definitely helped him.
Excellent job, no doubt about that for Justin Gerhardt, as John Mans will come back up here. Of course, was our test puller a little bit earlier in the category. Now has the option to come back after they changed the sled. He comes in here third in the points, including a win at our second hook, and Leslie spoke to him earlier today.
It's always exciting to see new players in the Superstock diesel truck class. And you may recognize the truck behind me and the driver, John Mans, but a different class this year. What made you decide to jump into the Superstock diesel truck class?
It's just an adventure for us, bucket list thing. I wanted to move up and kind of play around locally, and we got this great idea that we're going to kick this off the bucket list and drive a bazillion miles and go compete with these guys, the best trucks in the country out here.
So it's 1,100 miles to Osceola, Iowa. You go out there and you have a very good weekend.
Yeah, that was a blast, and that was a good start to the year. It made us feel pretty good about it, and couldn't be happier.
So the interesting thing is that you know all your tracks at home. You know what they've done. You've got your notebooks there. How much of a challenge and how exciting is that challenge this year that you're getting to probe new tracks and you're getting to learn new setups?
It's fun. It's different, because like you said, we don't know what we're getting into. We don't know the kind of track it is. Vance helped us out, giving us a heads up of what we're getting into. But, we run different tires, different tracks, and just every time we get here, it's let's see what we're going to do tonight.
And is it fun, though?
Oh, it's fun.
Yeah, sometimes your first lap around on a national tour is exactly that. There's no real pressure, and you go out there and you just enjoy yourself. When you start winning, the pressure comes right with it. He had back-to-back podiums at Osceola, Iowa, and Troy, Missouri. Unfortunately, he's going to miss the podium here with a distance at 3:11 and 44. That'll wrap things up here in the Superstock diesel truck category. That means Justin Gerhardt is going to be our winner. Great effort there out of him. And then, of course, right behind him is Eric Stacy at 3:37 and 39. Some really big-time hooks out here tonight. Don't want to leave out Kent Crowder, the points leader. Coming in here will be up on the podium. We're going to take another look at this one, though. John Mans putting one together.
And it looks like he fought it to try to keep it towards the center of the track. You can see using those front drive tires to steer it. He didn't let it drift off to the right like everyone else. May have yielded him a few more feet out here, but I think he was just kind of behind the 8 ball, just kind of having that second pass. The truck was still just a little bit hot for him out here.
Still love that truck, though. What a great-looking hot rod, and he's having some fun on the National Tour, the Champions Tour, as they call it. And here's a look at how everything shakes down, courtesy of Fleece Performance Engineering. This is the Superstock diesel truck results with Justin Gerhardt up top. Let's go to the podium and hear from him.
You had to be really patient if you wanted to make it to the top tonight. And it seemed like the track made you a little bit more patient than you even wanted to be out there.
Yeah, the truck got a little bit unsettled about 50 feet. I was just waiting for it to settle in, and once it smoothed out, we went to the throttle. It bit in and really took off.
Yeah, it was quite tricky out there. What did you learn sitting back there watching? We saw Kent really have kind of a breakout hook and saw some new dirt being broke loose at the end. I mean, did you think that was going to work for you?
Well, Kent and Eric have both been spanking us pretty bad this year. So when they did that little cross-track move and it worked out for them, we figured we'd give it a shot. And we got this new Hazley power plant. It's been fighting us a little bit, but it's getting dialed in, and it really enjoyed it and took off down through there.
Yeah, so definitely some wind in your sails here after those struggles early on.
Yeah, big struggle this year, so this feels really good tonight.
Congrats.
Thanks.
So that'll wrap up the Superstock Diesel Trucks, but we are far from done. Stay with us. The Pro Stockers are next. Just a beautiful evening here at the Mac Trailer America's Pole, presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. We just finished up the Superstock Diesel Truck category. Time now for the Smokers. Yeah, the Pro Stock Tractors are in the house. Whiskey Wild is going to kick it off here with Corey Bobb behind the wheel. Wide tugs that one down right away.
And this is the first outing for the team, and so they didn't hit the first few events. I think there were 4 that we've got in the book so far. And so to come out, to try to take care of business and make it to the track without a lot of testing, it can be tough, and you can have those minor mechanicals. It looks like he's trying to give the officials here the thumbs down, though. He does have that option since he's the test puller. Because he did go past 100 feet, he can't come right back. So it looks like it's going to be fortunate for him. He's going to be able to drop, make some mechanical adjustments, and give it another go. Good news here for Whiskey Wild and Corey Bobb.
Yeah, a veteran here on the Champions Tour. He knows all the options available to him whenever he is the test puller like that. As we take a look at our Pro Stock Tractor running order, pulling order, if you will, courtesy of General Tire once again. The Bullwagon will be coming up here next. Want to keep our eye on the Masterson camp there with Tinker Toy and River Rat. Finished number 1 and number 2 in the points last year, with River Rat winning it, but they're number 1 and number 2 in the points. Coming in here again with 3 hooks in the books. Unfortunately, 1 rain out along the way. So we'll keep an eye on them a little bit later on. This is Clint Metting behind the wheel of the Bullwagon, another John Deere. And that front end bobbing up and down there just a little bit, but gets a good effort in. And Clint will put 295 and 43 up on the board. Good enough to take over the lead.
And it's been exciting to see this team from Texas. It's Clint and his 2 sons. I've seen his wife out on the road a lot so far this summer that have decided to kind of leave the great state of Texas and come run the Champions Tour this year. As we heard from John Mance, it's kind of like a bucket list item, for them as well, in kind of their pulling progression as they've moved up through the ranks and of diesel tractors through the years. And so to see him out here, it's pretty cool to see this father-sons team chasing it.
As we take a look at our Mitas Tires point standings here in the Pro Stock Tractor category, as you can see, as we were talking about before, the Tinker Toy up top there, followed by the River Rat. So the Masterson tractors once again on point here. Then it's Denny Brown and Justin Wagler. Wagler coming up here in just a moment as well with the Real Deere Pro. He's the next one to hook up. He finished up 5th in the points a year ago and put it on the podium 3 times, I believe it was, in the 3rd position. Comes in here 4th in the points, has already been on the podium twice out of 3 hooks. Unfortunately, the 2nd hook at Shipshewana, it was a tough one for him. Oh, yeah. Boy, and those rear tires were squatting, man. You could see them wrinkled up. Puts together a nice effort here at 3:12 and 37.
Yeah, once those 24.5-inch tires get moving, they lay down a heck of a footprint, and you can see just how fast they're moving here. Justin gets a great hole shot, and look at that front end coming up. Unfortunately, he just can't keep it up in the air, but he is the first one to really show us what this track has in it, and it's got a lot of grip and grit inside of it, and so good hook for him, just maybe a teeny tiny bit light out there on the nose, but showing that there's a lot of power in the track. And bet we see some guys move some weight back and get that front end to stay up just a tick longer after seeing what he did out there.
Next up is going to be Jack Wishmeyer. The name of the tractor barely getting by his first hook here of the season, as we also saw with the Wishmeyer-owned Whiskey Wild. I don't know about barely getting by. He's getting it done out here today. Excellent effort. 3:25 and 27. That's a number.
Yeah, Jack and Corey said they might be barely getting by at home because they've been so busy with their trucking company, but they're glad to be out here this weekend, and I'm sure that that ride was a heck of a lot of fun out there. And as I was watching them go down the track, I just keep thinking, man, that's aggressive. You know, the way that these pro stocks leave the line, how they dump that clutch and they go full throttle right away and just kind of let the tractor balance itself out and dig in and hold on, and then have to, you know, steer with those brakes on either side of the tractor. It's just phenomenal. Aggressive. I love it.
All right, we have a lot more action coming from the Pro Stockers when we return. And we welcome you back to the Mac Trailer America's Bowl. Once again, we're here in Henry, Illinois. This event presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse, covering the Pro Stock tractors now. And up next is going to be Kevin Masterson aboard the River Rat. Comes in here second in the points. The reigning champ in the category. 7 podiums a year ago, including 4 wins.
And this is one of them. This is 1 year ago right here in Henry. Look at the River Rat just take a set off the line, digging into the track, blowing that beautiful big black diesel smoke all the way out the end as he puts himself to the #1 spot on the podium. And he's hoping he can do that here. You know, the River Rat has kind of been second fiddle here to the Tinker Toy with all the success it's had. And, you know, Kevin told me that both tractors are running the same kind of setup, so he's trying to figure out what that finite difference is between the two so he can get his tractor right up there with it.
Wow, and that's a heck of an effort. He goes sailing by the leaderboard. Puts another 16 feet on it. Yes, he's looking for back-to-back wins and back-to-back years. 341 and 38. What a hook.
The biggest thing I noticed was how much the run from 1 year ago and this run look alike. And you can definitely tell the Mastersons keep good notes because the front end weight looked about the same. You saw it come up early in the hook, stay down, and power through at the top end. And how about that correction by Kevin? The track really taking him over there to the right-hand side. It looks like he's about to head out of bounds, but instead hits that left brake, slows down the left tire, the right tire brings it back around, and he's able to leg it out for another 25 or 30 feet.
Yeah, really, really nice job right there. Fun to watch them do what they do.
And it'll be interesting to see if the Tinker Toy gets that same setup out there and if it is as successful, you know, as the River Rat, because it's going to be a lot later down here when it hooks.
And Leslie spoke with Sam Brown earlier today, driver of the Green with Envy.
Well, we're seeing multiple people in the seat here of the Green with MB tractor. And Sam, you're back in the saddle, after being out for a year, do you think it's all going to come back to you just like riding a bike, or are you a little worried about that?
I hope so. I mean, it was about a year when we sold our old one, then we built this, and it was about a year, and I thought I did okay with it, I drove, my last pull was Henry here, and now I'm back, and I've been spraying, so I haven't got to come to any of the other pulls, so I hope everything goes as planned.
Well, all work and no play makes Sam a dull boy, so we're glad that you're out here with us tonight. And so you have been on the Henry track now, and you guys figured out an issue with your water injection, so you've got the right tune-up in it too. Does that give you some more confidence?
Yeah, I think it does. I hope everything works right, and it just makes it down the track, makes a good pass.
Finished up fourth in the points 1 year ago. A couple of podiums along the way, including that our final hook at Lyons stood second on the box and comes in here third in the points, fresh off a podium at Mound City. Well, he did power up that front end a couple of times, but he's going to lay up short at 3:10 and 55. Will be just good enough to sneak into the top 5.
And Sam mentioned that issue with the water injection, and that's so critical because they actually use that to cool down the air going into the engine, as well as spraying water on the sidewalls of the cylinder to try to help keep it cool as well. And so now that they found the mistake, they've got it fixed. Now they're working towards perfection. So I think this was probably a conservative baseline for these guys to get some data for the computer so that they can look at what's going on and then make adjustments from there. But at least they got a solid run in the books. They've got data to go off, and their problem is fixed. So it's all on the up and up from here.
Next up is going to be Travis Coons driving the Trailblazer. One of the internationals kicked the season off on the podium as he finished up in second place. It's a great way to start.
Beautiful run there at Shipshawana, and then unfortunately with the late hook there he got passed by the Tinker Toy, but it was really proving to be an awesome start to the season for these guys.
Oh, and look at the header on that thing, man, just glowing red as he puts it through its paces. Beautiful job there, 3:20 and 97. That will be good enough to jump up into the top 3. Third position right now on the podium.
And they are the anomaly in the class, and so Travis has said before, that's kind of a disadvantage that they have, that they don't have the same data to go off as everybody else. So many big block John Deere motors in the category, but nothing like what they have there with the Massey. And so they're really kind of on their own, and unfortunately they haven't found that happy point between detonation and recognition at the top of the podium. And we've only got a few left. Hang with us and we'll see who comes out on top.
It's a throwdown here in the Pro Stock Tractor category. We're at the Mack Trailer America's Pole, and it's all presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. Up next, it's going to be Clinton Medding here once again. We saw him at the top of the class behind the wheel of the Bull Wagon. This time he'll be driving the Bulletproof Buck. And it just did not look like he had the ground speed, but 3:25 and 61 will be good enough to sneak him up into second place, just ahead of the 3:25 and 27 by Jack Wishmeyer, and barely getting by.
And it really started to get a little wicked on him out there. It was teeter-tottering from side to side, doing that one wheel with the open differential. And so he didn't even have those tires locked in. So I think he really had a setup for success, but unfortunately just hit one small spot in the track where it was a little bit inconsistent and didn't get the ground speed that he needed with that. Earlier today, I had an opportunity to check in with the newbies in the class, the Hartmans.
So it's a different look for Team Hartman this year. So I got to know, how did you guys come to the decision to join the ranks of the Pro Stock class?
It's the Pro Stock class. Everybody wants to be there, right? I mean, in our area, the limited pro class just isn't very strong in that area. We were driving super far, putting more miles on our hauler to haul around a 4.1 than we were a big pro. And it was just, we had talked about it, kicked around the idea, and then Rodney, he priced us his tractor after we had sold Hardcore, and we thought about it, and we're like, if we're ever going to do it, now is going to be the time. And us and Dad, and we always dreamt about trying to run one, and so we bit the bullet, and we're going to try to do it and see if we can compete.
So how much fun have you been having? Because this is a different level than you were at before, for sure.
It is a learning experience, to say the least. We go from one pull, thought we did really well, go to the next pull, and it threw us for a curveball, and we sucked. I'm not gonna lie. It's a learning experience, and we're learning. My brother told me once, it's like we're drinking out of a fire hose. It's how much we're trying to learn right now, and we're not trying to learn against little guys. We're trying to pull against Mastersons, Justin Wagler, Parrish. So many great pullers in the Pro Stock class that it's just, you're not going to learn it overnight. It's not going to happen.
But it's still fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing like it. There's nothing like it.
It's a deep end of the pool, there's no doubt about that, but that's why they all want to be here. So we'll find out how Brad does here behind the wheel of the Hardcore Addiction. Comes in here 5th in the points and did stand on the podium at our second hook. Boy, and I'll tell you what, he's going to jump up there onto the podium again. 3:26 and 55 will just sneak by the 3:25 that we saw Clinton Medding put on the board.
And this is very interesting because they went with the traditional Henry track position, which is usually just to ride the Lightning down the left-hand side of the track, and nobody has put it up there in that corner yet. And so he did it. Good move for him. Kept track of his notes from the 4.1, knew what it would do on that top side, let it kind of drift down into the center. And I think that whole shot really gave him the advantage, and that's probably what moved him up into that position.
And up next will be the Tinker Toy. Finished up second of the points a year ago. Comes in here leading with 3 consecutive wins. Every hook we've had this year, this tractor has been on top of the box. How about a picture of perfection? Somebody grab a hold of that thing and stop it. Look at that number. Are you kidding me? 368 and 65. He goes sailing by the team tractor by 26 feet.
That's just insanity. And here's the thing. It looks so easy out there. I mean, he's got our flagman on its heels out there, just keeps on backing up and backing up, and it doesn't look like the tractor is struggling hardly at all. Puts it right in the same path that we saw the River Rat go out there in, and then just lugging and chugging. Notice we didn't get that huge wheel stand out of him, and that was kind of the trend a year ago for Kevin on River Rat when he went earlier today, and the same thing worked for the Tinker Toy. Man, I don't know how he did it.
Unbelievable, right? And I was wrong. It wasn't 26 feet. It was 27. Doesn't matter. It might. We still have more to go. The Pro Bowling League is brought to you by Lucas Oil Products, Ag Protect One, and by Mac Trailer. Man, it has been a crazy night here in the Pro Stock Tractor category at the Mack Trailer America's Pole presented by Kawasaki Parts Warehouse. We just saw a hook out of the Tinker Toy and Patrick Gentry doing the driving at 368 and 65. Second place is the team tractor River Rat at 341 and 38. Here comes Corey Bobb. He was our test hook at the very beginning of the class. We'll find out what he's put together here for the very end of the class. Oh yeah, he was watching and learning, no doubt about that. Corey Bobb's good at what he does. How about this? 336 and 17. That's good enough to jump up into third place. In fact, puts 10 feet on the previous third place finish and still misses second place by 5.
And he really hits his weight here. Looks like he goes just a little bit to the left of where the River Rat was and lets it drift over to that right-hand sideline. Just a perfect little slingshot there and a great way for these guys to come back. I know Corey Bobb has got to feel really good about their first outing on the Champions Tour this year with that pass.
Man, if you want to jump in this category, you better get ready. 336 feet to get on the podium here tonight. And if you want to win it, almost 369. Unbelievable effort out of everybody here. It's absolutely incredible. Fans treated to a great effort here as we take a look at our Fleece Performance Engineering final results here in the Pro Stock Tractor category.
The Bulletproof Buck will round out the top 5, and then the Hardcore Addiction. Stepping on the edge of the podium, it'll be the Whiskey Wild, River Rat second, and Tinker Toy on top of the box.
So Patrick Gentry picks up the win tonight, and it was a phenomenal. You know, we saw Kevin go out there, and we thought it was a great pass. You know, did he kind of come back and kind of talk to you about the track, and what did he share with you?
He just told me, do the best I can. It's going to be a good night, and let's have fun.
No changes, no, hey, the track felt like this?
He just told me at the big end to stay in it and have fun.
Well, you definitely stayed in it. Huge distance, one of the biggest ones we've ever seen here at Henry. And so were you thinking about maybe backing out of it once you got past the mark that Kevin had set?
No, you don't back out. I was still far enough from a sand pile, and I wasn't scared to get to it. But
Go ahead.
no, let's just leave it at that.
So here's the thing that we got to bring up. First time you drive River Rat, you put it on the podium, first place. The first time you drive Tinker, so you've debuted on 2 tractors and you pick up 2 wins. That's pretty phenomenal, and it doesn't happen very often at all in pulling.
Well, it's such a humbling honor and experience. And a little tidbit, in 2019, my first tractor pull with Mastersons, with Kevin and Don, was here in Henry, Illinois. This is when it all started for me, hanging out, being a friend, learning everything, and just to think about being on Don's tractor when he won in 19 here. And then I get an opportunity to drive my first time and to represent the Masterson family. It's a testament to what they've done over the years, what Kevin's done, what he's taught me, what our crew. I mean, we have Daryl back at home. Dennis Miller has been successful under the toy. Yeah, there's been a few others that got to sit on that legendary tractor. Just for me to have that opportunity, it's a complete honor, and it's a good one tonight. You know, we're having fun. We have a great group with us. We got Rob, we got Knox, we got Kevin, all the other support around us. This is a special night for me because Henry, like I said, it kicked off my 2019 experience with them that led into the Rat, which was my first time at Bowling Green, biggest stage. This pull being such a crowd, the fans that are here, it's just humbling.
Talk about a full circle moment. Congratulations.
Yes. Hey, hold on. We still have to thank everybody that makes this happen. You guys, everything you do. And then, of course, under our engines, Riverside, everything Keith and Phil does. Weimer for all the fuel and turbo. Josh Miley, Brad Moss. The legend Rob Russell giving me some pointers earlier this week meant a lot, and I hope I'm making him proud, and I hope they're doing good. All the other competitors that has reached out to me, my phone's going crazy, and I'm ecstatic and just thankful to be here.
Great stuff, man. We had an awesome time here at Henry. It's always a tough hook, no doubt about that. The Superstock diesel trucks put on a great show, and the Pro Stock tractors, wow. All I can say is wow. Hope you enjoyed it. For Leslie Mears, I'm Ken Stout. We'll see you next time.